According to the conservativereview.com, it says Wednesday, 7 Republican senators declared their opposition to a clean repeal of Obamacare by voting against a 2015 bill that 6 of the 7 had voted for previously. If that weren't enough proof that a significant number of Republicans are pitiless hypocrites and liars, a subsequent vote Wednesday on an amendment by Senator Dean Heller of Nevada, Republican, shows just how hopeless and liberal the Republican Party has become on health care. Senator Heller's amendment contained language to express the sense of the Senate that Obamacare's Medicaid expansion is a priority and must remain untouched on any cuts. The text included language stipulating that the Senate should not consider legislation that reduces or eliminates benefits or coverage for individuals who are currently eligible for Medicaid, and should not consider legislation that prevents or discourages the state from expanding its Medicaid program to include groups or individuals or types of services that are operational under current law. How many Republican senators voted for this amendment? 10. 10 Republican senators voted for an amendment that says everything is fine with the Medicaid expansion. Includes Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Senator Bill Cassidy, Senator Susan Collins, Senator Mike Enzi, Senator Cory Gardner, Senator Dean Heller, Senator John McCain, of course, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Senator Rob Portman, and Senator Dan Sullivan. This is a part of the whole vote-a-rama and proposal of amendments and debates going on in healthcare in Congress and the Senate today. This is a big explanation of why we can't seem to get anywhere on Obamacare repeal. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason. In a world that is beyond reason, we are on till 9 p.m. tonight, 7 to 9 p.m., another 2-hour show right here. If you're listening to the live show here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA, you can call 407-916-5400 or text to 23680. We have a lot to get to. Once again, a lot of stuff that I won't have time to get to, but a lot of important stuff as well. I'm even going to bring back a segment I did before. I'm going to hopefully do it every Thursday. Things so beyond reason, you just can't make them up. And the story that I have today for that segment is going to be very interesting. We're also going to do Yaffee was right. In fact, you know what? Nostra Yaffee was right. Yes, I predict the future sometimes, and I'm proven right. And I found an article that says exactly what I knew was going to happen. So we'll get to that hopefully in the show. But I have to start off talking about healthcare. And of course, we have none other than Mr. Tom Benson, who is producing for us.
This is unbelievable.
Here we are, back again.
Yes. I see you already teased the unbelievable thing.
Yes.
Yes, you knew exactly why I put that there. Yes, we will get to a story that is pretty unbelievable when we get to it. But yes, how are you, Mr. Benson?
I'm doing fine, getting another day closer to the weekend. All is good, you know?
All is good. I mean, everything's good here. Not so much in Congress.
Or the White House.
Or the White House.
Oh, man, what a mess.
That should go. What's going on in the White House might need to go in my unbelievable segment because it is just, it's crazy. It's psycho. It's beyond reason.
It's wacky.
It's wacky. So, yeah, I do want to get to some of that. And then, later in this hour, I'm hoping I'm going to get to, Mike Pence and Jeff Sessions both, I think, need to join a circus because the tightrope walk that they both have done in the past couple of days with what Trump has been tweeting and doing to Jeff Sessions is pretty amazing. It's pretty stunning. They are good at that tightrope walk. They are walking between praising Jeff Sessions and what he's doing and not criticizing Trump for what he's doing, and it is truly something to behold.
And you have audio.
Really is.
You have audio on that coming up?
Yes, I do. Jeff Sessions finally spoke on this. So we'll get to that. But I want to start off once again with this whole attempt to repeal Obamacare. As I reported yesterday and just now, they could not even pass a straight repeal that most of them voted on in 2015. And in fact, that straight repeal is itself not a straight repeal. And then I found this article from the Washington Examiner that I think really puts a lot of this in perspective for what is happening. And it's not good, especially if you're like me and were a part of this. This was by W. James Annell III on Washington Examiner. Opinion piece he did. Here's the title. Republicans repeal and replace the Tea Party. Repeal and replace the Tea Party. Why is he saying that? Because even when Republicans control the White House and both houses of Congress, liberalism remains the default ideology of the federal government. A Republican Senate could not muster even 50 votes for the full repeal of Obamacare's taxes and spending. 6 Republican senators who had voted for repeal in 2015, when the party was merely pretending it was possible, flipped on Wednesday rather than deliver. 5 of the 6 represent states President Trump won in November. The 6th hails from the state Trump lost by less than 3 points. Now, he admits here in the article that even this was not really a full repeal, and doing that repeal without getting rid of some of the regulatory structure, the regulations which I've talked about, would be a bad idea. But he's making the point here. He says, we are discussing a law that Republicans spent 7 years campaigning against. Every GOP senator except one either voted for repeal in the past or campaigned on it in a recent election cycle. Their leader was said to have a secret plan to repeal Obamacare root and branch.
Yeah, right.
Well, exactly. Apparently, it was all a lie. Apparently, it was all hypocrites.
It was all lip service.
All lip service.
Yeah.
But what this is really doing is what he said in the title of the article. Republicans are now, instead of repealing and replacing Obamacare, they're repealing and replacing the Tea Party. This hits home for me because I was there at the Tea Party rallies. I was at the first, believe it or not, I was at the first one before I ever worked here that Bud was at in Orlando.
In March 2009.
Yes.
I remember.
Yeah, I was there. I was covering it for the UCF News, Nightly News, but I was there. I supported the Tea Party 100%. I've been there for other Tea Party events, other Tea Party rallies. I've spoken at a Tea Party event, actually. I've helped Bud at Tea Party rallies. What was the Tea Party all about? It was about limiting the size of government. It was about cutting spending because government was getting too big and spending too much money. It started with the stimulus package. Actually, it started with TARP under Bush. Then started with the stimulus package. So it was about big spending, and then it became about Obamacare. A lot of Tea Party activists, one of their biggest issues was repealing Obamacare because, once again, it was a big government intervention in the free market. And yet, we're still spending too much money. You could say, oh, the Tea Party wasn't about Obamacare, it was about spending. Okay. How have the Republicans done on that? How have they done on cutting spending? Not that great. Not really. There's so much that the Tea Party stood for. And let's face it, and a lot of us have forgotten about the Tea Party. You know, when Trump came along, it all became about Trump, and the Tea Party kind of went away. It's still there, but it just doesn't get the focus. But now it seems like Republicans are forgetting that it was the Tea Party that put them there, that has gotten them to this point, because the Tea Party was able to rally people, organize people to go out and vote. And in 2010, you saw Republicans take the House. Eventually, they would take the Senate as well. And now they've taken the presidency. A lot of this has to do with the Tea Party. And now the Republicans are just abandoning them. All the things they promised to do. So instead of, like he said, repealing and replacing Obamacare, it looks like what this guy said is exactly right. They've just repealed and replaced the Tea Party. He says there was ample time, continuing this article here where he talks about that, there was ample time for a contingency plan or even a better approach to replacing the healthcare law. No amount of time ever seems to be enough. Not 1 inch of ground gained by liberalism is ever ceded without a fight. Republicans can campaign against those gains. They can now tweet about them. But when it comes to action, Republicans can seldom do more than nibble around the edges. This is so true. This is why I get so upset when the Democrats are coming out with their better deal, and the best the Republican Party do is kind of make fun of it. And I'm telling them, take it seriously, because you're not proposing an opposition to it. You're not proposing what we should be proposing, which is free markets. So people are going to be drawn to the Democrat socialism. And what are you doing? You're just proposing socialism light. You're taking us in that direction just slower. It says the slightest retrenchment of the healthcare law that did not even exist a decade ago was portrayed as a mass casualty event. I know, it's so dumb. That's so true. Perhaps the most enduring conservative domestic policy gain is keeping marginal tax rates below 40% for the past 30 years. Oh, joy. Tax cuts. It seems like the only thing the Republicans can ever agree on is tax cuts. And they can barely agree on that. In fact, when the Senate was really desperate to try to get their health care bill passed, they were putting back a lot of the taxes in that. It says after Mitt Romney, Republicans were supposed to have learned how to do health care policy. After the Tea Party, they were supposed to have become more serious about contesting big government liberalism. After Trump, they were supposed to have learned how to fight Democrats and the media. The score as of Thursday morning, 0 for 3. It says little of this is surprising. Republicans had 23 years since the failure of Bill and Hillary Clinton's healthcare power grab to come up with their own alternative. Romneycare, the precursor to Obamacare, and the deficit-financed Medicare Part D was about the best they could do. And that was more big government, by the way. Republicans have long paid lip service to opposing big government when the Democrats are in charge, only to keep the trillions flowing once they take charge. Exactly what I said. You're going to lose in 2018 if you keep doing this, because the Tea Party put you in there to fight against big government, and you're not doing it. Yet the Tea Party was a triumph of hope over experience. Substantially a protest against former President Barack Obama, it was also believed that it could lead to a revival of constitutional conservatism. I was one of those people who believed that at one point, had hope in the Tea Party, had hope in the future of the country, because it seemed like people were waking up to the problems of big government. But you know what really turned me, changed my mind from that hope? Where I started to lose hope, honestly, in terms of could this country really go to constitutional conservatism, is when Trump, in one of the first Republican debates, said single payer worked in Canada and could have worked here at one time. Does anybody remember that when Trump said that? He said that in one of the debates, and all of a sudden the Republican base, all of a sudden a lot of the Tea Partiers didn't care. He talked about big government health care, and the Tea Party ignored it. Conservatives, a lot of them ignored it. And I was like, wait. How does this make any sense? So it seemed like there's a lot of people that, I don't know. I think they became so focused on just fighting against the media that we forgot what we were fighting for, which was limited government. Says, that's not entirely the Republicans' fault. In practice, the American people want a much bigger federal government than the Constitution currently authorizes. Not long ago, a conservative wag quipped that if a president actually tried to enforce the Constitution's limits on federal power, he or she would be impeached. But even if Republicans find a way to give Obamacare a haircut, part of the new skinny welfare state, yeah, that's what I talked about that yesterday, the skinny repeal. That's the best they can do. It will more closely resemble past free market corrections of liberalism's excesses than a serious constitutional conservative challenge to liberalism. That doesn't bode well for the Tea Party project of rolling back major liberal initiatives. The point of voting Republican will remain to make the inexorable growth of the welfare state as slow and painful as possible, a political posture that may be attractive to neither libertarian-leaning conservatives nor the populace drawn to Trump in the last presidential election. The Tea Party came to repeal and replace Obamacare. They ended up getting repealed and replaced themselves. This is way too true. This article really hit home to me because there's way too much truth in it. When are we going to get to a point to really stand what we say we stand for? And that's limited government. You know, I played that cut from McCain yesterday where he talked about compromise. And it seems like what this article was saying and what I've been saying is that's what we do. We compromise with the left. And usually that compromise is, yes, we'll grow government, but just a little bit slower than what the Democrats and the left wants. But we'll still grow government. I don't see any real effort to turn this back around. And, you know, there's serious consequences to all this, which I'm going to actually get more because the Democrats are realizing this and getting more bold in their proposals to go more socialist. And if we're not willing to oppose them, it could very well just work. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. I'll play my voice of reason of the day next and why we should be concerned about this and where healthcare seems to be going. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
Yes, this is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. We are on till 9 p.m. tonight. I thank you all for joining. If you want to participate in the show, you are more than welcome to. You can comment on Facebook Live. You can like the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page. You can send us a text at 23680, or you can call 407-916-5400, or, like I said, text 23680. So we've been talking about how it seems that the Republicans in Congress are repealing and replacing the Tea Party instead of repealing and replacing Obamacare. And I wanted to get to my voice of reason of the day on this. And yes, once again, it's Rand Paul. I know people probably think I'm some kind of crazy Rand Paul fanboy or something. I'm really not. I like him a lot on this issue and a couple other issues. Believe it or not, I voted for Ted Cruz in the primary in Florida in the last one. So I could have voted for Rand Paul. I voted for Ted. Actually, I don't know. Is Rand Paul still in? I think he might have been out before Florida. I'm not 100% sure on that. But Rand Paul was probably my second choice. But on this issue, I really like what he has to say. And he was on Hannity today on his radio show, and he makes a great point that I think really gets to the heart of the matter. And this is a point a lot of Republicans miss, a lot of moderates miss, and, you know, frankly, a lot of people that I talk to on social media miss on why this is important to people like me. It goes beyond just the numbers of healthcare. There's a bigger issue at stake when we're talking about the healthcare system in this country. And so Rand Paul was asked about this, and he said why he's disappointed in the GOP and Congress, and this is what he said.
And I guess what disappoints me most about the Republicans who said they were for repeal, voted for it, and then no longer are, is that they've sort of forgotten. They think this is about actuarial tables and insurance and all this stuff. No, this is about freedom. This is about whether we as Americans should be free to buy what kind of insurance we want, what's best for us and our families, and it's about whether the individual knows best or government knows best. Are we too stupid that President Obama has to tell us what kind of insurance? Does he think Americans are too dumb to make their own decisions? Are we going to give up our freedom and say to the government, you decide what kind of insurance I get and what it covers? It's a freedom issue. It really isn't about actuarial tables. It isn't about all the ins and outs. We have always taken care of those who are sick in our country. We have never, ever turned anyone away. I'm a physician. I've operated in hospitals for 25 years. I have never, ever seen anyone turned away who needed care.
He makes a great point here that it's not said enough, that what we're debating here, it goes way beyond, like you said, actuarial tables, healthcare numbers, Medicaid expansions, all this stuff, health insurance, there's a freedom issue involved here. That when government is in control of healthcare, government's in control of anything, but in something as big as healthcare, they take away choices. They take away your freedoms. Just look at Charlie Gard and what's going on in Britain as an example. But there are countless examples of that. And when I talk to so many people who are moderates who kind of want us to go to single payer, or they want us to, when they talk about reform, often they look at it like engineers. They look at it like Washington needs to come up with a plan to engineer our healthcare system so it does the works for everybody in certain ways. And if this part didn't work, we just need to tweak that and engineer that a little bit differently. Or if this part doesn't work, we just need to tweak that and engineer that a little bit differently. And we come up with a system that can, quote unquote, take care of everyone. But it always these systems that these people come up with, it's always top-down government control engineering a system. And when that happens, you're taking away freedom of choice, freedom of doctors to do what they want, freedom of hospitals to do what they want. And that's the crux of the matter here. That's the biggest issue when dealing with healthcare and dealing with the economy and dealing with a lot of things. You can't have freedom of choice if government's in constant control of everything. And the other fact is, you can't engineer these things in society. As much as you would like to, you can't. That's why the free market works, because it allows the market to come up with solutions. Because there's so many different aspects of all of this stuff that there's no way a top-down government bureaucracy can be able to do it. They can't know all. They are not God. You know, there's a great pamphlet out there that was written a long time ago. It was Milton Friedman. You would talk about it a lot. It's called iPencil. I would read it and look into it because it talks about all of the different aspects that go in an economy that go into making your pencil and how complex it really is. You know, where the lead comes from, where the wood comes from, how those deals are made, how it's all put together, putting the eraser on there, how it's sold in the marketplace, all these different things. And it shows how complex it is. But the market is able to work these things out. Could you imagine if the government was in control of it? The government can't be in control of it. It's way too complex. And yet I talk to so many people that's what they want to do. They want to engineer something from the top down. And when you do that, it takes away freedom. It just does. Now, another way the Republicans really need to get serious about this, another reason they need to get serious about this is they don't really realize what's at stake. Because if we fail to do this, if we fail to really start to turn this around and go to free markets in healthcare and real free market reform and go back to choice and go back to consumers having control over the cost of healthcare, well, we're going to head in the complete opposite direction. And then it's going to be impossible to turn back. And an example I have of this is Senator Dick Durbin. Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat, he was on Morning Joe this week, and he was asked about this, and this is what he said about the whole healthcare debate.
Senator Durbin, this is Eddie Glaude. Let's pan out a little bit. The Democratic Party just released its Better Deal to kind of offer a vision of their policy initiatives over the next few years. There's clamoring among the base for single payer. How, in the course of this debate, will you respond to those of us on the left who really think that single payer might be the answer to the health care issue?
This is the last gasp. What we're going through now is the last gasp for private health insurance in America, as far as I'm concerned. If we can't make this work with the private health insurance industry, we start moving closer to a Medicare model. From my point of view, Medicare has a lot of positive things to offer the American people. How many folks say, darn it, now I qualify for Medicare? Most of them say, hooray, I don't have to worry about pre-existing conditions. I paid into it. I can get the best hospitals and doctors, and I have peace of mind. That's what people are looking for in health insurance. And if the private health insurance industry can't make the current approach work, we're moving closer and closer to the single payer option.
I think, unfortunately, he's right. This might be the last gasp, especially with the way the Republicans are going, of free market healthcare in this country. And the Democrats are going to go closer and closer to single payer. Now, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because once they realize how much it costs, they're not going to be able to do full single payer, and their base isn't going to like what they actually come up with. but we're still headed in that direction of government control of healthcare. And so if this is the last gasp, if this is the last chance, and even though all the problems in healthcare have been mostly created by government to begin with, and you would think we would offer a real free market solution to prove that there's an alternative. But if we don't really do that soon, I'm afraid what Senator Dick Durbin said there is right. Now, the other thing, Tom Benson, are you celebrating Medicare? Did you say hooray when you're getting closer? You're getting closer to.
Well, yeah, I'm there.
Oh,
yeah.
You're in Medicare?
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you have just Medicare or do you buy supplemental?
I just buy the supplemental. I go to the VA hospital for my primary.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of different. You go to the VA. Okay. I forgot you did that.
Yeah.
But I know that some people, Medicare, a lot of times it's not, even that's not good enough for most people because you have to buy a supplemental to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to act like the Medicare government-controlled health care is just the be-all, end-all savior of everything. No, even Medicare doesn't work for everyone. That's why people go and buy supplemental insurance to add to it. So I just thought that was a very interesting point. All right, 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. I know some of you might be really passionate about this. I do want to get into the latest with Jeff Sessions. They released part of his interview with Tucker Carlson that will air tonight, in which he talks about the whole thing with Trump. I mean, Sessions hasn't said anything about it so far, except that he's not going anywhere. And it's amazing how Trump keeps bashing him, and Sessions, kind of takes it. So there's that, and then there's Mike Pence talking about this, and I'm just telling you, their tightrope act is just something to watch, something to see, something to listen to. So we'll play both of them next. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you heart Beyond Reason Radio, listen to the Beyond Reason Radio podcast on iHeartRadio. Just download the iHeartRadio app and search Beyond Reason Radio. The place where we talk faith, culture, and politics. Beyond Reason Radio continues.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. This is, another edition of Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We're on until 9 p.m. tonight. Make sure to send me a friend request on Facebook. You can like the Beyond Reason Facebook page as well, or you can follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. According to the Washington Post, President Trump has discussed with confidants and advisors in recent days the possibility of installing a new attorney general through a recess appointment if Jeff Sessions leaves the job, which it doesn't look like he wants to. But he has been warned not to move to push him out because of the political and legal ramifications, according to people briefed on the conversation. So that's kind of a whole nother weird angle to this. I mean, I've never seen so many Trump diehard supporters go against Trump on this. So many of them have. I mean, when you have Newt Gingrich, Ann Coulter, Tucker Carlson, Brit Hume, Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh, all going against Trump, not understanding what is happening, why you would just go around on Twitter publicly and bash one of your most loyal advocates and someone who's implementing your policy. And I'm kind of with them on that. So Tucker Carlson, someone who's been against Trump on this, I guess he's trying to get Trump's attention. He knows Trump watches his show probably. Trump's always watching Fox News or whatever. So I think that's why a lot of these people say this stuff. But so last night on his show, he interviewed Mike Pence. And Mike Pence, God bless him. I feel sorry for the guy because he always has to walk this tightrope because he wants to support his president. But he can't go down the road that the president goes down because he's just not like that. And this was one of the best performances I've ever seen of him. I'm telling you, he needs to join a circus or something and do a tightrope act because it's beautiful. It's all, you can't turn away from its majesty of trying to go in the middle of this whole issue. I mean, it's really just stupid, actually. I mean, the whole thing's crazy. There's no way he can support what Trump's doing here. But so Tucker Carlson asked him about it, and this is what actually I meant to go to Jeff Sessions. Well, let's go to Pence first. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to screw you up, Tom Benson. Yeah, go ahead and play Pence first.
Look, I think the president's been very candid. that he was disappointed with the Attorney General's decision to recuse himself and to not know about his intention to do so before he was confirmed as the Attorney General of the United States. But I have to tell you, Tucker, you've been around Washington for a long time. I know the Washington way is to talk behind people's backs, but that's not President Donald Trump's approach. One of the great things about this president is you always know where you stand. And I think what the American people like about this president is he speaks candidly, he speaks openly. He's expressed his disappointment, but that doesn't mean that we don't recognize the good work the Justice Department has been doing under the Attorney General's leadership, taking on MS-13 gangs, removing them from the streets, confronting sanctuary cities, rolling back that policy across the country. I think one of the president's virtues is his candor. I think the reason why you saw 15,000 people in Youngstown, Ohio last night cheering this president on, the reason why you saw Boy Scouts and their families from all across America cheering the president on in that vast throng in West Virginia earlier this week is because people know we have a president who says what he means and means what he says. There's no attempt to hide his feelings, and his expressed disappointment here is very sincere. And he said, we'll see what happens in the future, but at least the American people know, and every member of the cabinet can know that you'll always know where you stand with President Trump.
Okay, I'm not sure that last point is actually true. I'm not. You think you always know where you stand, but then it'll come out.
It changes every day.
Yeah, I don't know, but in terms of, he appreciates his candor, but he also loves Jeff Sessions. Did you hear that? I love Trump and what he's doing, and I love Jeff Sessions and what he's doing. I'm like, Mike Pence, you're just wow. You're good. You're good at this. But I mean, he talked about Trump and he said, people like his candor. People like that he's candid. He says what he means and means what he says, and he puts it out there. But what if he says is wrong? What if he says is not the correct thing to say? Even if he means it, what if it's not the correct thing to say? And what about, so there's no right way to do things, I guess? When you're the boss, you just go on Twitter and you bash a guy who's working for you and doing your job, doing a great job for you, instead of talking to him. And we say, well, that's just President Trump's candor. That's just him being Trump. So that makes it right? It makes no sense because you're undermining yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot because he's a big part of your administration, getting stuff done that you want to get done. And by going out publicly and bashing him, it's one thing to be candid. It's one thing to be candid to someone, go to them in person, say, we need to figure out, you need to do some things that I would really like you to do. That's what you would expect a president or a boss to do. But to just go on Twitter, randomly publicly bash him for reasons that make no sense. I mean, bashing him for recusing himself makes no sense. Let's just be straight about this. He didn't know he was going to have to when he was trying to get the job. It wasn't an issue at the time. So he recused himself because there was lots of reasons to do that. When Rudy Giuliani, who loves Trump, says, yeah, he should have recused himself, what's the issue here? It just seems like Trump is just trying to protect his ego more than anything else. And being the president has to be more about protecting your ego. In fact, there was a great article from Kenneth Starr today where he was talking about what Trump is doing is craziness. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up here because I thought it was really, really interesting. But I also want to get to what Jeff Sessions, because Jeff Sessions was also on with Tucker, and he was asked about this. First time Jeff Sessions has really said anything about this whole situation. So Tucker goes out and asks him, and Tom Menson, if you could you go ahead and get that Sessions cut ready? This is what Jeff Sessions had to say about it.
You've seen the president's criticism of you. Do you think it's fair?
Well, it's kind of hurtful, but the president of the United States is a strong leader. He is determined to move this country in the direction he believes it needs to go to make us great again. And he has had a lot of criticisms, and he's steadfastly determined to get his job done, and he wants all of us to do our jobs, and that's what I intend to do.
Man, I'm telling you, Mike Pence and Jeff Sessions should start their own tightrope circus act and get out there and do it, because they're great. They're so good at it. I mean, Jeff Sessions right there. Well, Trump's been trashing him for no good reason. And he goes, well, Trump's just a great leader and doing the right thing. And yeah, it was a little hurtful, but, everything's dandy.
But if he said anything less, he'd open up the door for dismissal.
Well, I know, but I mean,
so he's got to say.
I don't know why that hasn't happened anyway. If Trump hates him so much, dismiss him.
Well, why not?
I don't know. Yeah, I understand. Well, I get why.
Trump likes the drama because it focuses on him.
You're exactly right. In the next hour, I think I'm going to get to that, because there's drama going on in the White House between Scaramucci and Reince Priebus now. And I'm looking at all the stuff with Jeff Sessions. And I'm looking at all the stuff with Reince Priebus and Scaramucci. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of The Apprentice. It reminds me of a reality TV show. I feel like that's what I'm watching, is a reality TV show with a lot of manufactured drama that's really just distracting from anything real. It's just drama. It's just a show to make the host look good, even though it really doesn't. And the host is the president, Trump. So
it would not necessarily make him look good, but to make him look like he's in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like I'm watching The Apprentice. And you know what I have to say about that? I hate reality TV shows. I hate them.
Yeah.
That's why I hate all this stuff that's going on, because it's stupid.
And it's phony. It's not real.
Yeah, exactly right. I hate reality TV shows, and I feel like I'm watching it every day with stuff that's going on in Washington. It's just ridiculous. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. Next, of a story so beyond reason, you just can't make it up. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio. Your safe space for conservative thought, not for political correctness. Yaffee is back right now.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. If you've missed any of the shows so far, make sure to check out the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. You can download the Beyond Reason Radio app at the Google Play or Apple App Store. You can get us on iHeartRadio, or you can just go to BeyondReasonRadio.com. We're on Facebook Live as well. You can like the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page. You can send me a friend request, and I will accept it as well. Or you can follow me on Twitter at BeyondReasonR. So this is something I'm hoping to do every Thursday. I've done it before, and it's stories that are so beyond reason you just can't make them up.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
Yes. And this story really, really is unbelievable. I have not showed this to Tom Benson yet. So I'm very curious what your reaction is going to be.
All right.
Or anyone else's reaction. But there's a Tennessee judge out there who has an idea of ways to offer reduced jail time. But they have to do something in return.
I think I've heard this elsewhere.
Okay, good. Here is the story from the local news Channel 5 in Tennessee.
Inmates receiving reduced jail time if they get a vasectomy.
The eyebrow-raising program is so popular, dozens have taken part in it already.
And tonight, a mid-state district attorney is trying to put the brakes on the plan.
News Channel 5's Chris Conti is in White County, where operations are already being performed.
While the program may sound strange, 70 inmates so far have taken advantage of it, either having a vasectomy or a birth control implant. The DA out here, though, calls this ethically questionable.
Just a little.
As a general sessions judge in White County, Sam Benningfield sees all kinds of cases.
I also hear divorce cases. I'm the juvenile judge. I'm the probate judge.
But he gets so many repeat drug offenders who can't afford child support or don't have a job that he's decided something has to change.
Do you hope that this order breaks a cycle? Is that kind of what you're hoping for?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
On May 15th, Judge Benningfield issued this standing order. Any inmate who completes a neonatal health class then has an option. Female inmates can get a free Nexplanon birth control implant in their arm. Male inmates can get a free vasectomy. They will then be given 30 days credit toward their jail time.
What I'm hoping to do is help them start thinking about taking responsibility for themselves.
So far, 32 women in the jail have gotten the birth control implant, which lasts for 4 years. 38 men are waiting to get vasectomies.
And so I hope to encourage them to at some point finally take personal responsibility and to give them a chance, if when they do get out, not to be burdened again with additional children.
Should inmates get reduced jail time for getting a vasectomy?
No.
District Attorney Bryant Dunaway has major concerns.
I just think that it's something that those decisions are personal in nature, and I think that's just something that the court system should not encourage nor mandate.
The program is completely voluntary, but Dunaway worries it may not be legal.
I've instructed my staff not to be involved in this type of arrangement in any way.
Hopefully, while they're staying here, we help them to rehabilitate themselves in hopes that they never come back.
A judge who wants to make an impact, not just in the courtroom. Chris Conti, News Channel 5.
Yes, that is a real story. That is actually happening in Tennessee. Judge Sam Benningfield is offering vasectomies, sterilization, birth control to those who want reduced jail time so they don't have any more children.
I feel a constitutional challenge coming up.
I'm shocked. There's a couple of reasons why this story shocks me. One, that it's even happening in the first place. But two, that people actually took him up on his offer.
Yeah, 38 men.
38 men actually, well, okay. I don't want kids anyway.
Well, golly,
But I feel like, I bet there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, criminals shouldn't have kids. But I'm not sure this is a good route we should be going on, because it might set a bad precedent of, I don't know, do you want to go down the road that you're encouraged just because you went to jail or something to never have kids? Do you really want the government in any type of way? The whole thing's voluntary, so it's hard to be, too upset at it. I have a feeling, like you said, Tom Benson, it's not going to last in the courts. But it's just, I don't know, like I said, it's just so beyond reason. You just can't make it up.
Sounds like cruel and unusual punishment to me.
Yeah, although it's voluntary.
Yeah, but you can you talk your way around that one.
Yeah, that's
I had
true.
to do it if I wanted to get out of here. They forced me into this.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Just a very, very strange story. All right, the first hour is up. One more hour to go. I'm going to start the next hour with the poll that worries me, because it shows maybe free speech is dying in this country. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Well, I find some kind of conviction.
Newly appointed White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci is using vulgar language to lash out against Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and make fun of the senior advisor Steve Bannon in a new interview. Got this from FoxNews.com. In a story published by The New Yorker on Thursday evening, Scaramucci asks writer Ryan Leza to reveal who leaked the details of a dinner the president attended to him. He goes on to accuse Priebus of leaking. Reince is a bad word, paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac, Scaramucci said during a Wednesday night phone call. He told Leza, I fired one guy the other day. I have 3 to 4 people I'll fire tomorrow. I'll get to the person who leaked that to you, Reince Priebus, if you want to leak something, he'll be asked to resign very shortly. Impersonating Priebus, Scaramucci told Eliza, let me leak the blank thing and see if I can blank block these people the way I blank blocked Scaramucci for 6 months. Scaramucci also claimed that, unlike Bannon, he's interested in boosting his profile in the media. I'm not Steve Bannon. I can't even say that sentence. I don't even think I can I can censor that sentence and be able to say it. Oh, dear Lord. I'm telling you. And then, Anthony Scaramucci tweeted this out later. He says, I sometimes use colorful language. I will refrain in this arena, but not give up the passionate fight for Trump's agenda. This is a guy who used to hate Trump, by the way. Like I said, what does all this remind you of? It reminds me of a reality TV show. I literally feel like when I look at this stuff and read this stuff and hear what's going on and see Trump's tweets and hear what Scaramucci says on all this stuff and what's going on with Sessions, I feel like I'm watching a reality TV show. Oh, well, that makes sense, though, because our president was a reality TV host. And it's starting to seem like he's running the White House like a reality TV host. Like it's The Apprentice or something. I just can't go. I just don't understand this. All while healthcare can't be reformed. Tax cuts seem to be nowhere. The wall still hasn't been built, but it's okay because we got the reality TV show thing going on.
Scaramucci. You got to shake your hand. You mentioned this last night, The Godfather. You know, Trump sets him up as the Godfather. You have to come in and kiss his ring.
Yep.
Well, if I was Priebus, I just wouldn't go out in a boat on a lake with Scaramucci, you know?
Might get some concrete boots, huh?
Yeah, don't go fishing, that's for sure.
Don't meet him in the back of the parking garage or something. Scaramucci. I'll get him. It's so, it's just, so it's now... I don't know if I'm watching The Apprentice or The Sopranos or what's going on here. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. We are on till 9 p.m. tonight right here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. We have a lot more stuff to get to. I will end the show with things that made Yaffee laughy. And I have a Nostra Yaffee was right segment. Nostra Yaffee predicting the future once again. Yes. And by the way, we have Tom Benson. That was Tom Benson in there.
With and his orchestra.
And his orchestra. Yes, composer Tom Benson back leading his orchestra. All right, so I wanted to start the hour with a poll that I found kind of disturbing. Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire actually pointed it out, and he found it just as disturbing. He says this: it's a troubling moment for freedom of speech. For years, the right has suggested that the left is the force most dangerous to freedom of speech. From college campuses to attempts to restrict election spending to the push for hate speech regulations, the left sees freedom of speech as an obstacle. This is very true. They have been right on this. The problem? Now many Republicans are reciprocating. Isn't this something that this is almost a Nostra Yaffee moment here, because isn't this something that I've been saying? That what's going to happen eventually is the right's going to start, if we go down this road of fighting fire with fire, that the right's going to start using the same tactics, and they're going to be the ones now wanting to limit speech?
They did it first.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what's happening. A new YouGov poll shows that a wide plurality of Republicans would be willing to permit courts to shut down news media outlets for publishing or broadcasting stories that are biased or inaccurate. This is Republicans. The numbers, 45% of Republicans, according to this poll, would favor such a policy. 45%. 35% say they haven't heard enough to say. Only 20% said they would oppose such a policy of shutting down news media outlets for publishing or broadcasting stories that are biased or inaccurate. Among Democrats, just 18% favor such a policy, with 39% opposed and 43% saying they haven't heard enough to decide. Among independents, 25% say they back such media shutdowns, with 27% opposing and 48% deferring judgment. Overall, just 29% of Americans oppose such a policy. When it comes to fining media outlets, the numbers are even worse. Just 12% of Republicans oppose such a policy. Only 20% of independents oppose such a policy. Overall, 80% of Americans either support such a policy or don't know enough to say. Fining media outlets for things that they say I'm pretty sure that's against the First Amendment. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was one thing the founders were really against, that the British would try to do, would shut down free speech. But you have this vitriol out there. You have this hatred for the other side so much. You have this mentality of fighting fire with fire so much that now Republicans are buying into the premise that we should shut down media outlets we disagree with. Why would you support that? Because if you do that, it's going to come back to bite you. Ben Shapiro continues in his article here. He says these are disastrous numbers for free speech. Now, Republicans obviously feel victimized by a left-leaning media, and they have every reason to be angry. 79% of Republicans say that the media have been unfair to Trump, about the same number as say that the media should be restricted. But the solution to that would be more right-leaning media, more efforts to debunk, more efforts to check the impact of the media, which has grown, which is good. Not legal shutdowns of media outlets they despise. President Trump's constant drumbeat of fake news about stories that merely oppose his agenda contributes to the sense of danger that now surrounds the First Amendment. If Republicans are willing to dismiss the First Amendment on grounds of bias, and President Trump calls everything against him bias, we're in some trouble. He continues on here, says, but the First Amendment no longer means anything to the vast bulk of Americans. Overall, just 37% of Americans say that fining news outlets would violate the First Amendment. 40% of Republicans say it would not. Just 33% of Republicans say that it would. Thankfully, a plurality of Republicans say that shutting down news outlets outright would violate the First Amendment, compared to 35% who say it would not and 25% who say they don't know. But the fact that overall just 45% of Americans think that actively shutting down media outlets violates the First Amendment should frighten us. It frightens me, especially when it's coming from the Republican Party, the side that's supposed to be for the First Amendment, the side that's supposed to be for free speech, the side that's supposed to be for more speech. This isn't good. And this goes back to everything that I have been talking about for a long time on this show now. And the whole idea of fighting fire with fire, now we're getting to the point where their hatred for opposing sides, and I understand the frustration just like anyone else, but to shut them down? Where does all this lead? It doesn't lead in a good direction. And by the way, I've been experiencing this personally lately. I get hate from all sides, as everyone knows. As I said on Tuesday's show, in the sport of politics, because politics has become a sport, I guess I'm the referee, because everyone hates the referee and everyone seems to hate me. But I've had people recently say that I'm a promoter of fake news and propaganda because I post stories on Facebook. I posted a story today that seems to be pretty legit, that the main reason Trump put forward this transgender policy now is because there was a debate in Congress over a bill, and some of that debate was over funding transgender treatments in the military. So, and that was, the whole transgender debate was going to stop the spending bill from happening. The spending bill includes a lot of things in Trump's agenda. So in order to move forward that bill, Trump put forward this banning transgender thing. Politico had it. Seems pretty reasonable. And yet people, because I merely asked the question and posted it, people said some guy said I'm a promoter of fake news. I'm a part of the fake news media, putting liberal propaganda, bigoted liberal propaganda, he said, because he disagrees with me. This is where we're going? Obviously, he never listens to the show. He just reads my posts, and then he's like, you're trying to be an objective journalist, but it's not working. I said, I'm not. I never said I was an unbiased, objective journalist. I'm not. I'm a political commentator who has an opinion. It's pretty obvious, so I know he never listens to the show. But he just because I have an opinion that disagrees with him, and it's not even really bashing Trump or anything else. It's pretty obvious. And I wasn't even the one who came up with that. Bud was the one who pointed that out to me and agreed with it on this morning show. But this is where we are. I get it all the time. I get it from both sides all the time. If I post something from Conservative Review on Twitter, I get people on the left who will not even read it, who will not even acknowledge it because it's from the Conservative Review. They don't care what it says. They don't want to think about what it says. They just completely ignore it, call it fake news because of it's an opinion. Oh, that's an opinion piece. I'm not taking that for anything because it's opinion. What? This is where we are? And now we're getting to the point where polls are saying Republicans want to shut down news outlets and speech that they disagree with? Where does all this lead? I find it pretty disturbing, Tom Benson. I don't know about you. It's something we've been talking about on the show for a while.
Oh,
but,
yeah. But there's a line in the Simon and Garfunkel show that people hear what they want to hear and disregard all the rest. And that's basically what they're doing. These people are shutting their minds off to other opinions.
And you know what? You have every right to do that, honestly, if you want. But this is going beyond that. This is, instead of just shutting your minds to it, they want to shut down the other opinion from even existing in the first place.
Right.
So you have on the left, you have this Antifa group that's shutting down speech on college campuses. And we say that's against free speech. They shouldn't do that. Well, that's the same with our side. When the right wants to shut down a play just because they disagree with the play, the Trump Caesar play, we praise that. Well, that's hypocrisy. And this is just more hypocrisy. What we have to remember, and this is my biggest frustration with a lot of people on my side right now, especially in the media, they're forgetting what we're standing for. It seems everyone agrees what we stand against. The left, the mainstream media, and all that stuff. But I just don't hear enough anymore what we're standing for. And one of the things we stand for is free speech, the First Amendment. I would think that would have to be really protected. That's a no-touch zone. That's something, if this country gets to the point where we don't even agree on the First Amendment, we are in real trouble, in my opinion. 407-916-5400, text to 23680. I want to get into the latest on this whole transgender ban on the military. I talked about it a lot yesterday. You have some transgendered people who I guess were in the military before coming out against Trump. And I want to go over some of their criticism because they're not saying one thing that to me is pretty obvious here. So we'll get to that and much more. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com. The place where we talk faith, culture, and politics. Beyond Reason Radio continues.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. This is another edition of Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. We are on till 9 p.m. Tonight we have Tom Benson producing. If you missed any of the show, you can catch the podcast after the show anywhere podcasts are available, or you can catch the first hour. The video is already up on Facebook Live, on the Facebook page. Just go to Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page, like it. It's up there. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at Beyond Reason R. So Trump created a lot of controversy yesterday when he tweeted out that he was going to ban transgendered people from openly serving in the military. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, it's impossible to completely ban them because they could just hide it. In fact, that's what a lot of them have done. In fact, that's what a lot of them still do, believe it or not. In fact, when you look at a lot of this, the numbers are really, really low in terms of how, openly transgender people serving in the military. According to a RAND study, 2016 RAND study, they estimate that between 1,320 and 6,630 of the 1.3 million active duty service members may be transgender. So that's a number that may be there, according to that study. The Department of Defense hasn't provided official numbers. But of all those people, how many have been openly transgender? The number is pretty shocking. According to the Associated Press, previously reported that 80 Army soldiers, 80 are openly transgender. All this controversy, all this hubbubaloo, 480 in the Army.
No. You're forgetting something.
What?
The movement, the agenda. That's what it's really about.
Well, I mean, that's why Obama did it in the first place. Because I don't remember when Obama, got rid of that ban. I don't remember their big clamoring for it at the time. But yeah, it's exactly right. 160 Navy sailors, they say, identify as transgender. 160. That's not much. So, I mean, the numbers are just so even though they have been able to be open for a while, a lot of them still were not open about it. But I'm finding more articles here from people who say they're transgendered. And once again, I don't think anyone's ever honest about this whole debate. It's gender dysphoria. It's a mental disorder. It's a state of mind. But there was an article that went around. It was in the Washington Post. It's in the Denver Post by someone who says he's transgendered, but openly served in the military. He said at the time he would just hide it. But he went in the military, tried to be more of a man, but every now and then he would go in his closet and dress as a girl. I'd wear women's clothes behind the safety of a locked front door or something. But what's interesting, so he's against this now. He thinks they should openly be able to serve in the military, transgender. This is what this person said. I loved my country, though, and I knew I could still help keep it safe and strong. In 2008, I took a job at the Pentagon working in the Army's headquarters as a civilian analyst. People think of the Pentagon as a conservative institution, but my experience was nothing but positive, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. There was a part he said here that I found very, very interesting. That's a real caveat in why this can be a lot of problem. It said this: transgender soldiers, Marines, and airmen are among the top performers in their fields. When trans service members can serve openly and receive necessary medical treatment, they are allowed to focus entirely on their jobs. As a result, their individual readiness increases, as does that of their union. I don't know how true any of this is, but that's what he says. When you live inauthentically, I just can't. This transgender person, I guess he's a she now, is saying when you live inauthentically. No, you're the one living inauthentically. I'm sorry. You're the one, a man pretending to be a girl. It's just this whole debate. I just don't understand it. I know people are going to call me bigoted and hater for saying all that, but it's just the irony of it. But look what he says here. He says, when trans service members can serve openly and receive necessary medical treatment, they want that. That's where a lot of the problem comes in. Because to so-called be transgendered, a lot of it now is to get this treatment to make the change. And this is someone who believes they should be open and that the military should give them their treatment. They should receive necessary medical treatment to make that change. It'll make them a better soldier. I'm not sure about that. But what's interesting is there was another, I guess, a Navy SEAL who's transgendered who wrote a piece against Trump today, or talked to someone and talked about it against Trump today. But the whole difference is between this guy and the other transgender person is they were not open about it. They were not going through the change in the military. When they were in the military, they were men. They had this desire to be a woman deep inside them, apparently, at the time. But at the time, when that Navy SEAL was in the military, at the time, he was a man. When this person was in the military, at the time, he was a man. So the issues that could come up with being openly transgender in the military and receiving treatments and going through the sex change and all that stuff, it doesn't apply to what they're saying, because they were just what they were. So all the problems that could come up with being openly transgender don't apply to their stories. But there's still a lot of issues that could be put forward in this. And some people are saying, money. In fact, I think Bud said this morning that money isn't really an issue because it would be such a small drop in the bucket compared with all the other military expenses. But the Washington Free Beacon has a story out today. It says transgender surgeries would cost the Pentagon $1.3 billion if they went down this road.
Well, if it became more of a general practice, more people would probably come forward looking for
the medical. Exactly. It's where it leads to. Mm-hmm. Because sex change surgeries can cost an average $132,000 each. So you would have people, and you know this is going to happen, you would have people join the military so that they could have the procedure. And the military would pay for it. It seems like that's a big part of what's going on. It's where all this leads in the future. So yes, right now, it's not a big deal. When you have only 80 people that are openly transgendered in the military, in the Army, and 160 in the Navy, obviously that's not a big number. But if you start setting a precedent where the military starts covering their sex change costs because we've decided that makes you a better soldier somehow, that could cost a lot of money. But they're also out of the field at that time. It's just, I feel like no one's ever honest about this whole transgender debate anyway. But, I mean, these are legitimate concerns, in my opinion. I know that makes me a hater and a bigot and all that other stuff, I guess. There are many people who are rejected from joining the military for many different reasons. I had someone who texted in the show this morning and said he was rejected because of allergies. So you can reject someone because they have allergies, but you can't reject someone because they're a guy who thinks they're a girl. I don't know. I mean, you can criticize Trump with how he brought this out, his intentions on it, all that stuff. But, I mean, there are some legitimate concerns here. Now, according to the latest news, though, the Joint Chiefs of Staff were not consulted about this. They have no ready plan to deal with this. And they said until Trump actually implements a plan from the Secretary of Defense, there's really not much they can do to even implement this plan. That's one of the reasons why you don't just put things out on Twitter and say, here's the plan, because there's a process that's involved, and they're not ready for the process, it looks like. But I don't know if this is my opinion. I don't know if we can win the debate. It just seems like our pop culture is really pushing this down on us hard, is really shoving this in our faces, the whole transgender thing. And the tactics of smearing people who disagree with it is growing and really strong. And it's just, people are going to be silent about it, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. So I have a story that from Nostra Yaffee proves I was right. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Download the iHeart Radio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast. Your safe space for conservative thought, not for political correctness. Yaffee is back right now.
The last thing I wanted to say on the whole transgender thing is if there are transgender people that just join the military and do their job and, just do the job, I don't think people care. But the problem is when they want the special treatment. The problem is when they want, if they just go in and do their jobs, or if they're physically a man, they go in, they have these tendencies to want to be a girl, but they go in and just do the job, and nobody cares. But the problem is, the special treatment. They want the military to pay for the treatment, or the sex change operations, or their hormone pills, or they want to be able to use a girl's locker room even though they're physically a boy. That's where the issues come in. It's the special treatment, and that is what causes a lot of the problems. But in terms of just someone just going in and doing the job, I don't think most people would care. So that was just kind of the last thing I said. That. All right. So I found this story in the Atlantic, and this is Nostra Yaffee. This is proof of Nostra Yaffee being proven right. I've been saying this for a long time. I like how you're just whistling that. Oh, that's good. That's good. Composer Tom Benson producing in there. But I knew this was going to start to happen. I mean, it's not exactly the best prediction. Okay, it's not the best prediction ever. It's not like I predicted the winner of next year's Super Bowl or something. It's probably going to be the Patriots because it always seems to be now. But here it is from the Atlantic. This is the way the college bubble ends. Not with a pop, but a hiss. This is from Derek Thompson in The Atlantic. For the past few decades, the unstoppable increase in college tuition has been a fact of life, like death and taxes. No doubt about that. The sticker price of American college increased nearly 400% in the last 30 years. That's a crazy stat, by the way. While median household income growth was relatively flat. Student debt soared to more than $1 trillion. The result of loans to cover the difference. Several people with varying degrees of expertise in higher ed economics have predicted that it's all a bubble, destined to burst. Now, what I've been saying forever, for a long time, is that what's going to happen is people are just going to stop going to college. That you're going to have more and more young people looking at the price tag, looking at people not being able to find good jobs after college, and realizing it just isn't worth it. Why would I do this when I could go to some 2-year technical school, become a plumber, and make good money? A lot more money than in radio, by the way. Dang, I should have been a plumber or something. No, you don't want me fixing anything in your house. Just trust me on that. But I just think that people are just going to stop going. And that's exactly what's happening. Exactly as I predicted. It's already starting to happen. It says, now after decades of expansion, just about every meaningful statistic, including the number of college students, the growth of tuition cost, and even the total number of colleges, is going down, or at least growing more slowly. First, the annual growth rate of college tuition is at its lowest rate on record. Second, annual growth rate of student debt is lower than any time in the last decade. Third, and this is why I think the first two are happening, the number of college enrollees has declined for 5 consecutive years. Fourth, the college premium, the extra income one should expect from getting a bachelor's degree, is higher than it was in the 1990s, but it's stopped growing this century for young workers. Altogether, the numbers paint a clear picture. The higher education market is not bursting like a pop soap bubble, but it is leaking like a pierced balloon. Exactly what I've been saying. That there's no way this can last. That if the prices keep exploding exponentially, and people are not getting their money's worth after college by not being able to find good jobs in the market after they graduate, less and less people are going to go. They're just not going to go to college. And they see people who are very successful out in the market who have never went to college. And they're saying, why am I doing this when I could start my own business and be a lot more successful? When I can become a mechanic and be a lot more successful, or go to culinary school and be a lot more successful, or become a hairstylist or something, whatever, cosmetology school and be a lot more successful instead of going to these massive 4-year colleges. He continues on. What's going on? Yes. The explanation is a little bit of weak demand, a little bit of oversupply, a big crackdown on for-profit colleges, and perhaps a subtle shift in culture. Number one, the college pipeline is drying up. The United States is running out of teenagers. For 2 decades, college enrollment grew and grew, bolstered by the coming-of-age enormous millennial generation. But today, the number of young people going to college is in decline. It's not that today's teenagers hate higher education, but they say there are fewer of them overall. It's interesting. Another one says there are too many colleges. The last 3 decades, higher education has been one of the economy's most unstoppable growth sectors. In boom and bust alike, the number of 2- and 4-year colleges kept rising, increasing by more than 30% between 1990 and 2010. But now schools are closing. The number of colleges in the U.S. has fallen for 4 straight years, and the rate of decline is accelerating. As you can see in the graph above, obviously you can't see the graph above. I'm reading here. For decades, population growth after World War II fed the demand for new colleges, but population is going down. And it talks about for-profit colleges going. Now, he's saying a lot of this is just population decline. Maybe that can explain it all, but I really think a lot of this is that people are just, why? Why spend the money and go to college? I really believe that unless people are just going to want to go, why bother? But it might be some good news here, because if this continues, the price will go down and more people will be able to afford to go to school. But just found that interesting. Hopefully, though, if this continues, because there's still calls from the Bernie Sanders of the world to just have free college tuition or whatever and bail out the student loans, which would be another disaster. So there you go. Another prediction by Nostra Yaffee.
He was right again.
Oh, so we'll end the show with things that made Yaffee laughy. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. You can catch the podcast. If you miss any of the shows so far, you can catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. You can also see the video on the Facebook Live page as well. So, we might as well get started on this, because I have like 3 or 4 different Laffy stories today. So it is time for things that made Yaffee laffy. Yes, and this one is quite good. Probably didn't make this person laugh, but okay. The original premise of this story is actually not that funny. It's actually pretty serious, and I don't understand it. Steve Bannon, Trump's advisor, has been floating out this idea of increasing, not decreasing, but increasing taxes on the very rich. So he's pushing for a 44% marginal tax rate on people making $5 million per year. a lot of conservatives obviously don't like this and don't want this to happen. But you would think that liberal Democrats would love this, right? You would think.
I would think, yeah, sure.
That they would rejoice,
What's
right?
the problem? Yeah. Get those guys. Make them pay.
So Deborah Messing, she's a pretty
actress?
progressive, liberal actress. She was on that show Will and Grace. Been on some bunch of other shows too, and movies. She finds this story. And you know what she says? She says, this is disgusting.
Obviously, she makes more than $5 million a year.
No, it's worse than that. She thought that he was talking about a tax cut for the rich. You see, Messing, like the rest of the Hollywood anti-Trump brigade, have their anti-Trump outrage on autopilot.
Ah, sure.
Messing likely saw the report and just assumed the percentage listed was a tax cut on the rich because Trump is evil. She couldn't even turn off her anti-Trump outrage long enough to look into our current taxation rates and then ignore the news like a good little leftist who hates anti-narrative reports and facts. She just knee-jerk flipped her lid, because Trump. Which is ironic. I'm getting this from the Daily Wire, by the way, from our buddy Amanda Prestigiacomo. Says Donald Trump is no Ted Cruz. He has no ideology, but that doesn't matter to the left. He's unorthodox and hits the media and Democrats back twice as hard, and thus he's literally Hitler. But it's gotten to the point where Trump's advisor floats out an idea that Deborah Messing likes raising taxes on the rich, and her immediate reaction is this is evil, and she hates it. Because it's Trump. That to me was pretty funny. I couldn't believe it. All right, what else is going on and things that made Yaffee laughy? So Sean Spicer, I'm sure a lot of you heard this.
Sure.
He left the Trump administration.
He spent the day in New York City the other day, meeting with people from ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, looking for a job.
Really?
Yeah.
So, like what is it, like a political
as
commentator
a
or something?
Yeah, talking head, sure.
Really?
An expert on Trump.
Is there any word on any of them hiring?
No, I haven't heard anything.
No? It would an expert on Trump. That would be interesting. We're going to talk to our Trump expert, Sean Spicer. What is Trump thinking right now?
Fox would be the logical choice, but,
they have plenty of Trump experts.
That's it.
I mean, Newt Gingrich has a book out, Understanding Trump. We need a book.
Yeah, but I heard all the pages were blank.
Oh, that was a burn. A lot of our audience won't like you for that, Tom Benson. It is kind of sad, though, when you need a book to explain.
Yeah.
Look, you can't understand them on your own. You need a book. But it turns out you're right. Sean Spicer is looking for jobs, but there's one place that actually wants him. Dancing with the Stars reportedly wants Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer's next possible gig literally has legs. According to the new report, Spicer has been spotted meeting with television executives, like you said. But it turns out that he's wanted on Dancing with the Stars. In fact, Zach Braff tweeted out, "Can't wait to see Sean Spicer waltz on Dancing with the Stars." I think he might be perfect for this. Because, I mean, who has done a better dance routine around everything that's going on than Sean Spicer? I mean, in fact, honestly, though, I think they might have to get Mike Pence and Jeff Sessions to also be on them, because the way they danced around all the questions
sure
dealing with Trump and Sessions, yes, I think that could very well happen. But yeah, so Sean Spicer might actually be on Dancing with the Stars. Rick Perry was on Dancing with the Stars, as you know, and he says it's a great privilege to be on Dancing with the Stars, And more importantly, I got to see and have a whole new appreciation for some professionals. Are you a fan of that show, by the way, Tom Benson?
In the first couple years, yeah, but I've fallen away from it. I have other things I need to do now. My wife watches it all the time.
Women love that show.
Oh, I know.
What is it with women and dancing?
Yeah, I don't know.
They just love dancing. I'm not a big fan of the show, frankly, because I'm just sick of shows praising celebrities, to be honest. We're obsessed with celebrities all the time, and that's just another one.
Well, that's just it. If they had on celebrities I was interested in, I probably would. But, they have a lot of people on I don't care about or I don't even know, so it doesn't it rings hollow with me.
Your problem is the celebrities. Now, would you watch it if Sean Spicer was on it?
No, I don't think so.
No?
He wouldn't be a draw.
No?
No.
I think... What if they got Melissa McCarthy to dance with Sean Spicer?
Now that I'd watch.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Special get. Okay, ABC, you have to do that.
They should be on the same show, but not necessarily partners.
You wouldn't.
They got to be teamed up with a professional dancer.
Well, they can't do one dance together.
Well,
so if Melissa McCarthy gets on with a separate partner, does she still dress up as Sean Spicer?
Good question.
And do it as Sean Spicer.
And Sean dresses up as Melissa McCarthy.
Okay, now you're just going crazy town.
Well, that would bring in the transgenders.
This is true, I guess. But yeah, so then it could be a battle of the Spicers.
There you go.
And see which Spicer is best at dancing. So there you go. Okay, the last thing that made Yaffee laughy. We were talking about Kid Rock. This actually kind of makes me sad. It almost doesn't make me laugh. It makes me sad. Kid Rock, we talked about on a Laffy segment before, said pretty much announced he was running for Senate. And I said, they have to make the slogan, "Make America Rock Again." That has to be his campaign slogan.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out he's not. He's not running.
I heard he had just set up an exploratory get out the vote type effort.
Yeah.
Get people to register.
Exactly. He tabled the U.S. Senate run, stresses voter registration. He let his fans, as well as political junkies, guessing Wednesday about whether he will actually run for U.S. Senate. But in a statement released on his website, kidrock.com, the rocker announced a new initiative to create a nonprofit organization for the promotion of voter registration. But I guess he still continues to explore the idea.
Think of two letters.
What?
PR. This is all for publicity.
You know what, though? I wonder if part of the reason is he actually realized he could win. He probably... Because there's a part of me that thinks that Trump... And I know a lot of the audience will hate me for saying this, but I'm not sure Trump ever expected to win or ever really wanted to win. I think a lot of that was PR until all of a sudden he was popular, and then it's like, oh, man, I can win.
So now Kid Rock thinks, hey, if Trump can do it, I can do it, huh?
Well, I'm wondering if Kid Rock just started this as PR, like you said, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I can win.
It's picking up steam, yeah.
But I'm wondering if maybe he's like, I don't want to win. I don't really want to be in the Senate. And the sad thing is, some of the stuff he was saying, like on his website, is a platform. He probably could win, I think. Believe it or not, this is where we are in Crazy Town, USA in 2017. Kid Rock for the Senate. Make America rock again. All right, I thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you missed any of the show, check out the podcast anywhere that podcasts are available. There's plenty of Beyond Reason stuff. I know that's going to happen in the next week, and so I will be back next week to talk about it all. See you then.
Well,